Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast. I'm Ty Glenn. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. Got lots of NHL news to discuss, so make sure that you stay tuned in to this episode until the end. And as always, do me a favor, hit that like, subscribe button if you are watching the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast on YouTube, and if you are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Make sure to follow the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We are with you guys every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11:30 a.m. to noon Central Time, 12:30 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell button, hit that follow button so you can stay up to date on the latest episodes of the Hockey Talk TG Podcast and the latest hockey news going on right now. World Juniors, that is next Friday. Next Friday will be the start of the 2026 World Juniors. And on the Hockey Talk TG Podcast, we'll be discussing it. You won't find any discussions of the World Juniors or any other podcast but the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast. And if you do hear somebody else discuss it, it won't be as good as I do it on the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast. So make sure to follow the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast, whether that be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, so you can get the latest hockey news right away. We'll be talking about the World Juniors starting next Friday, because that is the start of the World Juniors. It will be in the state of hockey, St. Paul, Minnesota. It will be from December 26th all the way to January the 5th. And we'll be having all the World Juniors news, highlights, and discussions right here on the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast, your number one podcast for all things hockey. Third thing is, next Thursday will be Christmas. We are 8 days away from Christmas. And if you are looking for the perfect Christmas present, look no better than buying my books on Amazon. We got my top 10 Blackhawks moments told from my perspective. As a Blackhawks fan, I tell you guys my top 10 moments. As a fan of Chicago Blackhawks, I wrote this in honor of the centennial season, which is this season, 100 years of Chicago Blackhawks hockey, and I wrote this book in honor of that. So if you're a Blackhawks fan like myself, make sure to get your copy of this book. All these book links will be in the description below. So you can just click on the link below in the description, and you can get your copies of my book on Amazon. Second thing is From Icebergs to Ice Kings. So this is a book about a team of Chicago. The media views them as being a bad, poor team. I can't think of the term, the right term I want to say this with. I learned it in my issues in sports and media class in college. But the media views them as a bad team. And somehow, some way, they get invited to a ODR tournament in Canada, and they go play in the ODR tournament, and I probably won't give too much away. You're just going to have to read the book for more talk about that. I won't give too much away. Next thing, Slapshot Struggle, story of our middle school hockey team. So a book perfect for your kid, whether he or she is in elementary school or middle school. Slapshot Struggle, story of our middle school hockey team is the perfect book for your kid. It is about a middle schooler trying to start his own hockey team, hence the name Slapshot Struggle, story of our middle school hockey team. Perfect book for you and your kid. Next book, Breaking Barriers, A Black Man's Ice League Journey. I wrote this book. This book is about diversity and growing the game of hockey, especially in areas where you see that hockey is not being played. And I wrote this book because of that. So if you love to see the game of hockey grow, if you love seeing everybody from all different backgrounds playing hockey, which hopefully you do, make sure to get your copy of this book, Breaking Barriers, A Black Man's Ice League Journey. Don't let the title fool you. This book is about diversity and growing the game of hockey. Last book, Rising Up, A Young Player's Journey to the NHL, a perfect book for aspiring young hockey players that dream of going pro to the NHL. This book is for you. If you have dreams of making the NHL, if you have dreams of playing for your favorite NHL team, if you currently play college hockey or juniors, make sure to get this book. This book will inspire you. This book will motivate you. This book will help you to keep reaching your dreams of making the NHL. So, all 5 of these books will be in the description below. So, whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all 5 of these books will be in the description for you to get. Like I said, Christmas is next Thursday. And what better Christmas present to get than my copies of my hockey books, and I'll show them again at the end of this episode. For those listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, the link will be in the description below for you to get. But for those watching on YouTube, the link will still be in the description below, but I will just be showing you guys at the end as well. Whereas the people listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio won't see the books that I'm showing, but they'll be able to click the link in the description. Christmas is next Thursday. All these books are at affordable prices. It's not like they're $20, not like they're $25. These are affordable prices. They're under $15. They'll make a great Christmas present for you and your kid. And if you are a huge hockey fan, make sure to get each and every one of my hockey books. Like I said, all these books are under $15 at affordable prices. They're not expensive. They're really great books. I highly encourage you to get each and every one of them. Like I said, I'll show them again at the end of this episode if you are watching on YouTube. For the people listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, if you want to see the books, you can just click the link in the description, or you can head on over to YouTube and you can see me actually showing the books and stuff. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started into the NHL news for today. So we'll start things off by recapping the Oilers and Penguins, Connor Bedard versus Sidney Crosby. And we saw a milestone in this one as Leon Draisaitl reaches 1,000 career points in the Oilers' 6-4 win over the Pittsburgh Penguins on Tuesday. He is the first German-born player in NHL history to reach 1,000 in career points. He's the 103rd player overall in NHL history to reach 1,000 career points. He's the 5th player in Oilers history to reach 1,000 career points. And he reached the mark with a secondary assist on Zach Hyman's power play goal early in the first period. Kind of feel bad for Stuart Skinner. Of course, he used to play on the Edmonton Oilers, and he had to watch Leon Draisaitl and the rest of the Edmonton Oilers celebrate Leon Draisaitl's milestone in that one. So that kind of felt awkward and weird just to watch. I mean, just stared him down. And they came down to the Oilers bench. Everybody hopped off the Oilers bench, came down to Stuart Skinner's crease, and just started celebrating with Leon Draisaitl. I'm pretty sure that had to feel weird and awkward for Stuart Skinner just to watch that. I mean, 4 days after being traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins, you play against your former team, you play against your hometown team, which P.S. I made my prediction came right. If you didn't listen to Monday's episode of the Hockey Talk Tuesday podcast, I predicted that it will be Stuart Skinner versus Tristan Jarry in the Oilers and Penguins matchup on Tuesday. I predicted that before the NHL made it official. So another reason to listen to the Hockey Talk with TG podcast, because it's your number one podcast for all things hockey. So we keep things real and true on the podcast. But anyway, I'm pretty sure that had to feel awkward for Stuart Skinner just to watch that. I mean, come on. Obviously, you want to celebrate with Leon Draisaitl for that, but you're on the opposing team and you're not on the team anymore. So, yeah. So I kind of feel bad for Stuart Skinner right there, but happy for Leon Draisaitl nonetheless on the milestone. He actually finished the night with 4 assists, so he had a 4-point night in this one. And Edmonton improves to 16-12-6 of the season. They're 5-1-1 in their past 7 games. Connor Bedard also had 4 points in the win. He had 2 goals and 2 assists for a 4-point night. So he actually had that beautiful, great goal in the first period, like cutting through the Penguins defense and scoring on the backhand past his former teammate Stuart Skinner, which they actually met each other before the game. I think it was where either Stuart Skinner or I believe it was Connor Bedard who was getting interviewed before the game, and then Stuart Skinner walked up to him, gave him a little high five or so, kind of like greeting him before the game, and that was nice to see former teammates meeting each other. Then Connor Bedard scores on Stuart Skinner, so twice. Well, actually no, one of his goals was an empty net in this one, but the first goal was in the first period on the backhand. A beauty of a goal from Connor Bedard past Stuart Skinner. Zach Hyman, Evan Bouchard each had a goal and assist for a 2-point night in this one. Matt Savoy and Vasily Pokanin also had a goal in the game, while Tristan Jarry made 26 saves on 30 shots faced in net. Also finished with a .867 save percentage. Second win with the Oilers and first against his former team, the Pittsburgh Penguins. So he comes into Pittsburgh and gets a win against his former team. Both Stuart Skinner and Tristan Jarry were wearing their old team's helmets. So Stuart Skinner had on Penguins jersey, Penguins uniform, but had on the Oilers mask. He had on an Oilers goaltending mask with his Penguins outfit. Same thing with Tristan Jarry, like we saw in the first 2 games, with him being on the Edmonton Oilers, like he had on a Pittsburgh Penguins goaltending mask, and he had on an Oilers outfit. So I'm pretty sure they'll hopefully get that situated out, but that was kind of weird to see. But hey, it's been 4 days later, like after they got traded. So I'm pretty sure, obviously before the new year, they'll get that sorted out. For the Pittsburgh Penguins, Tommy Novak, Eric Carlson, Brian Russ, and Danton Heinen all scored for Pittsburgh. Sidney Crosby had an assist to pull within 1 point of Mario Lemieux for the most points in the Penguins' history. Sid the Kid, Sidney Crosby, has 1,722 points in his career, 644 goals, 1,078 assists, 1,722 points in his NHL career. Mario Lemieux, he was at PPG Paints Arena to, possibly see that happen. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Fun fact, Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux actually played with each other on the Pittsburgh Penguins. So this was during Mario Lemieux's final year in the NHL. He came back to the NHL twice. He had his first retirement, I believe, in 96, 97. And then he came back, I believe, in December 2000, I believe. And then he finished his NHL career for good in 2006. And so that was still the 2005-2006 NHL season. That was also Sidney Crosby's first season. And that also happened to be Mario Lemieux's last and official final season in the NHL. Hopefully I got that right, though. If I didn't, please correct me down in the comments. But yeah, I believe that was the case. I believe his first retirement was in like 1996, 1997, somewhere around there. And then he came back to the NHL in December 2000. And then he finished his NHL career in 2006 for real. Stuart Skinner made 17 saves on 22 shots faced in net in his Penguins debut, so he finished with a .773 save percentage. And the Penguins, their homestand has not looked so good. They lost their 6th straight game, 0-2-4 during the span. They ended their 5-game homestand with an 0-2-3 record. And they dropped to 14-9-9 of the season. So it wasn't a homestand that Penguins fans and the Penguins themselves were looking for. It was a tough 5-game homestand for them. Both for the 2 of those games against the Sharks and the Mammoth, they had the lead. So the Sharks game, they were up 5-1. They blew the lead. And then the game against the Mammoth, they were up 3-0. They blew that lead. And both of those games being overtime losses. So, yeah, a tough homestand for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But they will look to regroup as they begin a 2-game road trip in Ottawa against the Senators on Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The Oilers continue their 5-game road trip in Beantown in Boston against the Boston Bruins on Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So far, they're 2-1-0 during their 5-game road trip, with the only loss being against the Montreal Canadiens on Sunday. But moving on to the Steel City, to the Big Apple, as Thatcher Demko, he makes 23 saves in the Canucks 3-0 shutout win over the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden on Tuesday. First shutout of the season for Thatcher Demko, and he is the 6th goalie in franchise history with at least that many shutouts for the Vancouver Canucks. He's actually tied with former Canucks goaltender Ryan Miller for 5th most shutouts in Canucks history, and Vancouver improves to 13-17-3 of the season. Second straight game won since trading Quinn Hughes to the Minnesota Wild. Second straight game won for them doing a 5-game road trip. Of course, they had a 2-1 win over the New Jersey Devils on Sunday. That was part of the NHL Network showcase game, in which we saw Z Bullion score in his Canucks debut. He had a 2.9 in that game, I believe, a goal and assist for 2.9 for Z Bullion in his Canucks debut. Evander Kane, Liam Öhgren, and Connor Garland scored for Vancouver. For Liam Öhgren, this was his first goal with the Canucks. Of course, he was in that trade package that sent Quinn Hughes to the Minnesota Wild, and he was traded to Vancouver along with Z Bullion, Marco Rossi, and a 2026 first-round pick for Quinn Hughes. This is his 4th goal in his 48 career NHL game. He last scored his goal before this one against the Rangers on March 19th of last season. For the Rangers, Jonathan Quick made 14 saves on 22 shots faced in net. And for the 6th time this season, the Rangers have been shut out at home. So they're not as good as a team at home as they are on the road this season. And not to mention, they lost 5 of their last 6 games. So it's been a struggle for the Rangers. They're 1-3-2 during the span, and they dropped to 16-15-4 of the season. The Rangers have got to get it together at home. Because, I mean, seriously, 6 times this season that they've been shut out at home. It's crazy to think about it. Madison Square Garden is obviously one of the best electric arenas to go watch a hockey game, man. The Rangers fans certainly aren't getting this money's worth, as the Rangers have just been terrible at home and not playing so good at home. So, I mean, it's crazy to think about. The Rangers are on the road against the St. Louis Blues on Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The Canucks continue their 5-game road trip on Long Island against the New York Islanders on Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That game will air on NHL Network. It will also be back-to-back road games for the Vancouver Canucks, as they will play the Bruins on Saturday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That game will air on NHL Network as well. And then they have another game airing on NHL Network on Monday when they wrap up their 5-game road trip against the Philadelphia Flyers in the city of brotherly love on Monday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Another game that will be on NHL Network. So the Canucks' final 3 games of this 5-game road trip will be aired on NHL Network for you guys to watch. Friday against the Islanders, Saturday against the Bruins, and Monday against the Philadelphia Flyers. But now let's move on to Toronto Maple Leafs Blackhawks. Original 6 matchup that went oh so terribly for the Chicago Blackhawks. I was so upset about the ending. But the Maple Leafs hold off the Chicago Blackhawks with a 3-2 win at home on Tuesday. A comeback win from Toronto. Scored 2 goals in the span of 8 seconds in the third period to win the game. And they got the goals from Austin Matthews and the goal to Joshua. Man, oh man, was I so upset about the ending. That's a really tough one to swallow for the Blackhawks and their fans. We had it there. We played a good 55 minutes of hockey. And then to blow it in the third period, are you kidding me? So it was a tough way to end that game for the Chicago Blackhawks. But for the Maple Leafs, they improved to 15-12-5 of the season and 5-1-2 in their past 8 games. And they finished their 5-game homestand with a 2-1-2 record. It could have been 1-2-2 if the Blackhawks had not blown that third period lead. All 3 of their goals came in the third period in their comeback win. They got the goals from Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Austin Matthews, and Dakota Joshua. William Nylander notched 2 assists in that game, while Joseph Wall made 23 saves on 25 shots faced in net. This is his first game back in the Leafs lineup. He missed the past 4 games with a lower body injury, and for the Blackhawks, Wyatt Kaiser and Jason Dixon scored for the Blackhawks, while Spencer Knight made 24 saves on 27 shots faced in net. The Blackhawks, it's been tough, especially now with Connor Bedard being out the lineup until January. They lost 5. They lost 5 of their last 6 games. They won 5-0 in their past 6 games. And they dropped to 13-14-6 of the season. Artem Lechesnov did not play in this game for the Blackhawks. He was a healthy scratch in this one for missing the team's practice. And the Blackhawks, they continue their 3-game road trip in Montreal against the Canadiens Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That'll be another Original 6 matchup to watch. Man, oh man, can't January come already? Really want Connor Bedard back in the lineup because this team is terrible to watch without Betsy in the lineup. So please let January come so we can see Connor Bedard again, because he is the engine. He is the offensive engine for the Chicago Blackhawks. I believe he scored half of their goals this season, by the way. So half of the goals for the Blackhawks this season come from Connor Bedard, and he leads the Blackhawks with 44 points this season. He gets it going for us. I'm not sure if that made sense or not, but he gets it going for us on our offense. So he is the engine of our offense. So, and without him in the lineup, leaves a huge gap for the Blackhawks offense. So we really need to see players like Frank Nazar, Oliver Moore, and Nick Larders step up. For Nick Larders, I know this was his second career NHL game, but you should take a look at his stats with the Brantford Bulldogs in the OHL. When he played there, those were some amazing career stats, but I know the pros are way different than the juniors, because the OHL obviously is a junior league, NHL is the big stage, and I know it's going to be different from playing in the OHL to the NHL, so I know it's a difference right there. It's a big transition. Nick Larders actually even had some good stats when he was playing in the AHL for the Rockford IceHawks, but again, different transition. So, but hopefully we see him step up and Connor Bedard's absence. We really need to see Frank Nazar step up. I don't even know when was the last time Frank Nazar had a goal for the Chicago Blackhawks. But again, another great player on offense for the Blackhawks. And we haven't seen him racked up as many points or so, or him scoring as many goals as we would like to see him score. So he's really going to have to step up for the Chicago Blackhawks. But yes, again, another Original 6 matchup against the Montreal Canadiens on Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Really hoping to get December over it so we can go to January and hopefully we can see Connor Bedard back in the Blackhawks lineup. The Maple Leafs, they start a 3-game road trip in Washington against the Capitals on Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. But now let's talk about Connor Bedard's injury. As, like I said, he was placed on injured reserve for the Blackhawks on Monday. The team announced the move retroactive to December 12th, meaning that he's officially sidelined and won't count against the active roster. And in doing so, the Blackhawks also recalled defenseman Ethan Del Mastro and goaltender Laurent Brossoit from the AHL to help fill in the roster. I think Brossoit was a scratch in this one. I believe the 2 goaltenders that were in their gear was, obviously Spencer Knight and Arvid Soderblom. But taking a look at the injury details for Connor Bedard, he was injured with 0.8 seconds left to go in regulation in the Blackhawks 3-2 loss to the St. Louis Blues last Friday. And head coach Jeff Blashill called this a quote-unquote freak accident. Brady Shen with a dirty cross-check to Connor Bedard, making him fall to the ice and him clutching at his left shoulder. And he went to the locker room in some discomfort, and unfortunately, he won't be playing again this month, December, and he will be reevaluated after the new year. So, obviously, tough for Blackhawks fans like myself. By missing December's games, it is a possibility that he could not play for Team Canada come the 2026 Olympics in February. According to the 32 Thoughts podcast hosted by Elliot Friedman, Bedard described this as just a shoulder thing. So I'm hoping it's not severe. It might be severe. I don't know, but it's tough not seeing him in the Blackhawks lineup. I mean, it just is. At the time of the injury, Bedard led the Blackhawks with 44 points in 31 games this season, 19 goals, 25 assists for 44 points in 31 games for Connor Bedard for the Chicago Blackhawks this season. Overall thoughts on this, like I said before, it's tough to see Bedsy not in the lineup for the Chicago Blackhawks, especially since he scored half of their goals this season, and since he is the main engine, the offensive train engine, if you will. Like I said, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but you guys get what I mean. He is the engine for the Blackhawks offense. He is the go-to player for the Blackhawks offense, and having him not in the lineup leaves a huge gap in the Blackhawks lineup. I mean, nobody else on the team was trying as hard as Connor Bedard. And it's kind of the same thing like the New Jersey Devils. The Devils don't win hockey games without Jack Hughes in their lineup. Jack Hughes he's the Devils' offensive engine in their lineup. Like, he is the go-to player for the Devils' offense in their lineup. He's still out with a finger injury, but it's kind of the same thing with the Devils, with the Blackhawks. Jack Hughes is important to the Devils lineup as Connor Bedard is to the Chicago Blackhawks lineup. The Devils don't win games without Jack Hughes. The Blackhawks don't win games without Connor Bedard. And they did show on the Blackhawks broadcast on the games that the Blackhawks have won and have not won without Connor Bedard. So it showed the games that the Blackhawks won with and without Connor Bedard in their lineup. Both of them being at negative records, but still, that just comes to show how important Bedsy is to the Blackhawks lineup. So, like I said, it's kind of like the Jack Hughes situation with the New Jersey Devils, kind of like how I talked about it on the Hockey Talk TG podcast before. I'm bringing that same similarity to the Chicago Blackhawks. And also because both of them obviously being number one overall picks, Jack Hughes, number one overall pick for the New Jersey Devils in the 2019 NHL draft. Connor Bedard, number one overall pick for the Chicago Blackhawks in the 2023 NHL draft. But yeah, those are my thoughts about Connor Bedard's injuries. Connor Bedard injury. Hopefully Frank Nazar, Oliver Moore, somebody can step up for the Blackhawks on their offense. Mostly Frank Nazar. But let me know you guys' thoughts about it. Especially if you're a Blackhawks fan like myself. If you're a Blackhawks fan like myself, let me know how you guys feel about Connor Bedard's injury. Let me know you guys' thoughts in the comments down below. I know I kind of talked about it a lot because I am a Blackhawks fan. I do write for Blackhawk Up. I've watched this team a lot, obviously, because I'm a Blackhawks fan. So I follow this team a lot. I've been a Blackhawks fan my entire life. So I grew up a Blackhawks fan. So especially during the dynasty years of Jonathan Tate and Patrick Kane, still hurts to see him not on the Blackhawks, especially Patrick Kane since he's playing for the rival Detroit Red Wings. But it is what it is. We're moving on to the Blue Jackets and Ducks game as Adam Fantilli, He scores the overtime game-winning goal in the Blue Jackets' 4-3 overtime win over the Anaheim Ducks. On Tuesday, he scored the overtime goal with a minute and 28 remaining in overtime. Scored with a wrister from the slot after picking up the puck and going one-on-one in overtime. Goal came off a pass from Kent Johnson, who finished the game with 2 assists for a 2-point night. And Columbus improves to 14, 13, and 6 of the season. They end their 5-game losing skid. They were 0-4-1 during the span. Zach Werenski had 2 goals and assists for a 3-point night. He has 20 points during their 11-game home point streak. 7 goals, 13 assists for 20 points during their 11-game home point streak for Zach Werenski. This is his 11th goal of the season. He reached the 10th goal mark for the 8th time in his career and matched John Carlson for the most by active defenseman. And fun fact, this was Zach Werenski's 600th career NHL game, passing Blackhawks captain and former Blue Jackets forward and captain Nick Foligno for 4th place on the Blue Jackets all-time games list. Boone Jenner, he had a goal and assist for a 2-point night for Columbus, while Jet Grease made 24 saves on 27 shots faced in net. This Jet Grease's first win since November the 20th. And for the Anaheim Ducks, Mikael Granlund, he had a goal and assist for a 2-point night for the Ducks. Ryan Strome also scored for Anaheim. Jackson Lacombe had the game-tying goal for the Ducks with 3 minutes and 16 seconds remaining in the third period. Scored on a slide from below the goal line and went off the mask of Jet Grease. Ville Husso made 24 saves on 26 shots faced in net. And the Ducks wrap up their 5-game road trip on Tuesday. They finished their 5-game road trip with a 2-2-1 record. And with the loss, they dropped to 20-12-2 of the season. These two teams will play again on Saturday in Anaheim at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. But before that, the Ducks will start a 3-game homestand on Friday against the Dallas Stars at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The Blue Jackets conclude their 4-game homestand against the Minnesota Wild Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Other games from the Tuesday slate: Boston Bruins scored 4 unanswered goals to win 4-1 over the Utah Mammoth. The Philadelphia Flyers scored 4 unanswered goals to win 4-1 over the Montreal Canadiens. The Detroit Red Wings, they hold off the New York Islanders for a 3-2 win at Little Caesars Arena. I was about to say Joe Louis Arena, but unfortunately that arena is torn down. Unfortunately, it closed down in 2017. The Minnesota Wild shut out the Washington Capitals 5-0. Philip Gustafson with a 25-save shutout performance. They win their 5th straight game and 2nd game that they won with Quinn Hughes on the team. I might have to start watching some more Minnesota Wild games now that Quinn Hughes is on the Minnesota Wild. And they're going to be a dangerous team to watch now with Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy, Brock Faber, Quinn Hughes, Philip Gustafson. I'm really going to have to start watching some more Minnesota Wild games with Quinn Hughes on the team now. So, just to see how far they go in the regular season, if they do make the playoffs, which no doubt in mind that they will, but if you've been watching Minnesota Wild playoff hockey over the past few years, their runs to the playoffs have not been that long. I mean, they've been eliminated in the first round or the second round, but from my perspective, mostly the first round. Like recently last year, they were eliminated by the Golden Knights in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But hopefully, with the addition of Quinn Hughes and with the team that the Minnesota Wild already have, hopefully they can go on a long, deep playoff run and maybe make the Stanley Cup final. Might be overreacting when I say that. I might be overreacting when I say that, but you guys get what I mean. Hopefully their playoff run doesn't end up too short. May not be Stanley Cup final for the Minnesota Wild, but hopefully their playoff run is not too short this year. I don't see the Wild going to the Stanley Cup final, by the way. That was just the overreaction that I had, but yeah. But I'm going to have to start watching some more Wild game with Quinn Hughes on the team. The Sharks take down the Calgary Flames. They extinguish the Calgary Flames by winning 6-3. Macklin celebrating with a spinorama highlight reel goal in that one. And the Colorado Avalanche hold off the Seattle Kraken with a 5-3 win in Seattle on Tuesday. NHL games on the slate for today. There's only 5 NHL games on the slate for today, starting with the LA Kings taking on the back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got the Utah Mammoth taking on the Detroit Red Wings at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. The Mammoth played last night in Boston. It was a 4-1 loss for them. The Red Wings played last night against the Islanders. It was a 3-2 win for them. So both of these teams playing a back-to-back set. That game will air on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max for you guys to watch. And then we got a Central Division showdown between the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got the Carolina Hurricanes taking on the Nashville Predators at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Happy to see that former Alabama football coach Nick Saban, or Saban, is it Saban? I think it's Saban. That he is with the Nashville Predators now. He's with the Nashville Predators ownership group. Happy to see that. And I'm pretty sure Alabama fans are happy to see that. And Predators fans are happy to see that as well. So congrats to Nick Saban on joining the Predators ownership group. In the last game of the night, we got the New Jersey Devils taking on the VGK Vegas Golden Knights at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That game will also air on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max for you guys to watch. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure that you are following the Hockey Talk TG podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. We are with you guys every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11:30 a.m. to noon Central Time, 12:30 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure to hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell button so you can stay up to date on the latest episodes of the Hockey Talk TG podcast. Also, feel free to share these episodes of the Hockey Talk TG podcast as well. So if you have any family, friends, or other relatives that have not heard of the Hockey Talk TG podcast before, share each of these episodes so that they can tune in and listen to it as well. Number one podcast for all things hockey. Next Friday is World Juniors. And what better podcast to tune in and listen to than the Hockey Talk with TG podcast, as we'll be having all the discussions, the previews, the recaps, all that and so much more of the World Juniors. The World Juniors starts next Friday, December the 26th. It will be in the state of hockey, St. Paul, Minnesota. Team USA looking to go back to back to back, and they'll do it this time, unfortunately, without David Call, as he will not be returning as Team USA's head coach of the World Juniors. Next Thursday, Christmas. Get your copies of my book on Amazon, Rising Up, Young Players' Journey to the NHL, Breaking Barriers, A Black Man's Ice League Journey, Slapshot Struggle, Story of Our Middle School Hockey Team, From Icebergs to Ice Kings. And if you're a Blackhawks fan, like myself, get your copy of my book, My Top 10 Blackhawks Moments. Wrote that in honor of this centennial season. All these books are at affordable prices, under $15. And they're all on Amazon. Link will be in the description below for you to get your copies today. They will make a great Christmas present for you and your kid. Make sure to get your copies of my book today on Amazon. All under $15 at affordable prices. Not even expensive. Next Thursday is Christmas. Get your copies of my book before then. Next Friday is the World Juniors. Make sure that you are following the Hockey Talk TG podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio so you can stay up to date on all the World Juniors news and discussions we have on the Hockey Talk TG podcast. Well, for you guys, have a great rest of your day. Keep God first as always. Be blessed. I'll see you guys on Friday for another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. Take care.